What's up, you guys? It's Mark from Worth It Repairs, and today we're doing a video of a MacBook Pro M3 A2991. It's the 16-inch version, and we have the keyboard here. I already replaced it, but I'm going to show you how to replace it yourself. This thing was liquid damage, and cereal got spilled on it and ruined the keyboard, but inside the computer, it was okay, and I was able to repair it. Let's dive in. So I skipped the part where I take off the back. You need to use a 4PL screwdriver and remove the screws to take off the back. I figured if you're doing this repair already, you should know how to take off the back, because this repair is for experts only. Just saying, it is very hard and takes a lot of time. If you're looking for help on trying to repair your MacBook Pro M3, you can email me, mark@worthitRepairs.com, and we'll get that set up. Since it's liquid damage, we're going to grab our rubber gloves and get this thing fixed. And we're not really quite sure what we're in for because this is my first time doing the repair. I am not worried about this repair at all. I did the MacBook Pro M3 Max A2992 screen replacement guide, and you can check that out on my channel. If you use this guide, please subscribe to my channel. So first things first, we're going to disconnect the battery, which is this connection in red. Use your flat end of your plastic spudger to lift the lever, and then you can pull the little piece of tape and pull the connection out, just like so. Hold your horses here. Don't just start disconnecting everything. You're going to have to grab out your T3 screwdriver here in green and remove these two screws holding down the trackpad connection. To get the battery fully disconnected, you'll have to disconnect this first, and then you can get your T5 screwdriver and unscrew the battery connection. I don't know what to describe it as, a flex sort of thing that is over top of the battery connection, and then you have the battery fully disconnected. Next, grab out your T3 screwdriver, remove all these screws over top of all the connections. There's a ton of screws, so we recommend that you use an electric screwdriver to remove all the screws. Once all the screws are removed, you can use your flat end of your plastic spudger to disconnect all these connections. Take out your T5 screwdriver, remove these two screws from the hinge covers, but you can't yet get them out until you take out the Wi-Fi antenna. So once you got those screws out, start unscrewing the Wi-Fi antenna. Using your T5 screwdriver, remove these screws. Grab your P2 screwdriver and remove these 9 screws on the Wi-Fi antenna that are in pink. Perfect. Once all those screws are removed, you can remove the Wi-Fi antenna. To take out these brackets, you lift up on the front of it, and then you pull out this plastic piece and I was having a hard time getting it out, but I managed to get it out. You just want to remember to put them back in when you're putting it back together. Grab your T6 screwdriver and remove these 2 silver screws on the top of the heat sinks before moving on to the repair. Now that you got those screws removed, you can grab out your T5 screwdriver and remove all the screws holding down the logic board. You're gonna want to grab out a standoff screwdriver, and I got mine from an iFixit kit, and you'll want the bit that is the 4.5 G4.5 to remove the 2 standoff screws on the edges of the computer. If you don't have one of these screwdrivers, you could use some pliers to unscrew it carefully. I noticed that the screwdriver bit doesn't fully fit snug on the screw, but it worked enough that I could get it off. So please, if you're doing this repair and you know what screwdriver it is, leave it in the comments below so then we know exactly what screwdriver bit we use to remove these standoff screws. Grab our handy plastic spudger and lift from the right side to get out the logic board. It is pretty difficult because all the connectors kind of get in the way, but you just got to wiggle it out slowly and gently as possible, because if you break something, then there goes that repair and you broke your logic board and you'll have to send it out for board repair or something. With that being said, do this repair at your own risk. It could fail and you could have some issues with other parts because you got to fully take it apart. So after you put it together, make sure you test it. And we'll get into that further in the video because I had some issues myself. Since this computer was liquid damaged, we're going to inspect the back of the board, and wow, there is no sign of liquid damage. I'm very impressed that this computer did not get liquid damage inside the computer. So the computer is a little bit more water resistant than the older previous versions or something, because this person clearly spilled their Lucky Charms, unlucky charms all over their keyboard of their computer. And I was able to repair it by doing a keyboard replacement, but not all the time you're able to repair liquid damage. Here's the part. I got it from mobilecentrics.com, and I'm no affiliate with MobileCentrics, so please, again, leave me a super thanks if you like this guide and you also ordered the part from where I got the part. Here is our space gray A2991 top case keyboard replacement. We're going to do the whole keyboard and top case because it's a better quality repair. Most of the time it comes installed with a battery. We also inspect it to check to see if there's any small parts we don't need to move over, but it looked like you're going to have to move everything over. So we'll get the fans removed and remove these rubber little brackets or covers over the screws, just so we can unscrew it and also keep track of those because they must serve a purpose, and I believe it's so those screws don't short out the board some way. Anyways, you want to make sure you put these in when you're done with the repair. Now grab your T3 screwdriver and remove these 4 screws in the middle, and then T5s will be on the side of the fans, on the outer side. And that is in blue. Now remove these T3 screws holding down the charge port and all the USB-C connections and USB ports. The only thing that is soldered to the board is the, I believe, SD card and HDMI port, but I can't quite remember. It's been a day or two since I repaired this. Right here on the frame of the computer, there are two T2 two T2 screws on the frame, and you'll have to use your T2 screwdriver to remove them. And they look like this little standoff thing. And you just want to make sure you remove them to get the charge port fully out. Voila, we got the fans out. Now I can show you all the screws that I've collected so far, and I remembered where they all went back in, which is great about this video. So please, give me a thumbs up. Before I get too confused on where to put all these screws back together, I decided I'd start installing them in the new part. So we'll get these installed, and then we'll take off the screen and do all that, and we'll also be removing the battery, it looks like, because the new part doesn't come with the battery. I recommend buying the battery with it if you can afford the cost of the part with the cost of the repair and everything, then doing the battery as well. But in this repair, we remove the battery because we're trying to save money. To screw back in the charge port, the screws aren't magnetized because of the magnet on the charge port, so you'll have to use bended tweezers to hold the screw and then screw it in. Now, for one of the most important parts is if you don't move the power button over from the old top case to the new, it will lose Touch ID forever. And also, you don't want to break the part, because if you break the part, you'll also lose Touch ID forever. Unless maybe in the future sometime Apple allows you to buy the part and then pair the part to the motherboard again. But as far as I know, as of right now, September 5th, 2025, it is not available. But anyways, you'll want to take out a T3 screwdriver and unscrew the screws. There's 4 screws that you can see, but then you remove the rubber gasket, and it allows you to remove the other 2 T3 screws. Now, to remove the rubber gasket. It shouldn't be this hard, but mine had liquid damage, so it's sticking down a little bit more than it should. And it did come off, though, certainly. And now there's the remaining 2 T3 screws. Now it's time to remove the power button, and you should be able to just push it out, but the liquid damage is just sticky and it's causing the power button not to come out, so we're just going to push it out with some tweezers all around as careful as possible so we don't accidentally break something. Now, once the button's removed, we're just going to clean it up a little bit so it's not so sticky anymore and won't stick down. Now, to put it back in, it's a balancing act. You have to hold your finger behind it and then screw it down. And it's really hard, and I wanted to point out I messed up at this part because there's one part I forgot to show you that you had to remove, and I'll show you real quick here, just on the side. And so here it is, this little piece of metal on the middle of the power button. You need to pry it out with some bended tweezers and then keep track of it, and then you'll have to put it on the new top case keyboard. I think this part should be pre-installed, but it wasn't on mine. For the sake of the video, I skipped the part where I was testing it and went back and actually went and fixed that part. So in testing, I learned, and then I redid the whole repair, but I didn't want to record the whole redo of the repair for you guys. to make the video a lot less longer. It's a balancing act to get the power button back in, and you have to hold it in and then screw it in, and there's like a bracket in between the bracket, and it's really difficult to do. And you want to test it, make sure it clicks. And I was clicking it, but it didn't feel like it was clicking all the way, and I wasn't quite sure. So before I put it all the way back together, I made sure to test it. You'll want to screw back together the fans using your T3 and T5 screwdriver bits. We'll grab out some alcohol just in case you need it, but you're definitely going to need it if your top case keyboard doesn't come with the speakers. Mine didn't, so I had to take them out, and they're really hard to get out, and you might end up breaking it. And then I start putting some alcohol around the battery because we're going to get ready to take out the battery. Before we pry out the battery, let's take out the trackpad with our T5 screwdriver, and then we'll install it into the new top case keyboard right away. Since we'll be prying on the battery pretty hard, let's take out the screen. So lay it on the desk where the screen is coming around off the edge of the desk, just like so. And grab out your T8 screwdriver and remove the T8 screws on the hinges. So you're going to want to unscrew all the screws, and once the screws are removed, you lift up on the right hand side and then you slide it out just like so. We'll install the screen on the new top case keyboard replacement. You want to make sure the ribbon cables don't get stuck like mine did, and then I adjusted it and put it back in, screwed it back together, and then closed it up, and then I was ready to use some double-sided tape or just some M3 adhesive to hold down the speakers, and we'll get those installed quickly here, and then we'll get on with the repair of putting it back together. Now it's time to put in the logic board. Lift up the little rubber thing. You got to get all the connections out of the way. Sometimes what I do is tape the connections down to the side so they're bent out of the way. This time I didn't have to do that, and I managed to slide it back in. So you want to slide it in from the left to the right, and then you will get the boarding. Once the board's fully installed, we can start connecting on all the connections. And the reason why we don't screw it down is if the board needs to be kind of pushed or shifted in a certain way, so then the connector could go on. Like the loudspeaker wasn't sitting down exactly where it belongs, so I had to push it and pull it to get it to work and connect the connection on. Use bended tweezers to connect on the keyboard connection. Don't forget the plastic brackets that go underneath the screen connection, so you'll want to lay those down after you put the hinge covers back over, and lay those down and then lift over and connect the connectors just like so, and then we can grab the Wi-Fi antenna and put the Wi-Fi antenna back on and screw everything back together. Not fully because we want to test it before we screw it all back together, so just put down a few screws to hold down that Wi-Fi antenna. we're gonna screw down the board, because I screwed down the board further than I needed to before I tested it, but I had high hopes that everything was gonna work out right. But I ended up having to unscrew all these screws that I'm just screwing in right now just to get it working fully functional. Now it's time to pry out the battery. They do actually have pull tabs, but I have low hopes in the pull tabs, and I don't like sticking my tweezers in trying to grab the pull tab right next to the battery where you could puncture the battery by accident. So what we're going to use is our good old-fashioned alcohol and just soak it up, and then we'll start prying it out with some flat ends of plastic pry tools. I have a plastic card, and I also use this big plastic card, or big plastic pry tool. That's the red one, and it's hard to tell you guys where to get one of these, but I'll try to link it best I can on Amazon on my description below. So if you use all the tools that I'm using, please send me a super thanks. It helps me make content like this. The battery got bent up a little more than I wanted, so hopefully the battery doesn't expand in their computer just because of the bent marks, but we'll just put it in and give it a test, and let's see if it works. It worked! Alright, perfect. After fully testing the device, I decided to adhere the battery in, and then I put it fully back together and it fully worked. Thank you for watching my video. This was one of my full-length videos, and it's super long. And if I stutter, if I mess up, I mean, the video is 20 minutes long, and it was a lot of work. So thank you for watching again. You made it to the end. Just roll it. Worth it.
It's your